Oh, mais il y a même Manuel, il y a tout le monde. On se met toujours au même.
Bonjour à toutes et tous.
Hello.
Merci de votre admirable
Thanks
ponctualité.
for being right on time under this nice sun before the month of May.
C'est étonnant de se
It
retrouver
is amazing
alors qu'en
to
2020,
be there.
Thierry
While
vous avait
in
proposé
2020,
cette
Thierry
sélection
suggested
labellisée.
this
D'ailleurs,
selection,
le hasard
labeled
veut qu'un
selection.
film labellisé cette année-là, le film des
labeled
années
selection.
progressives, qui s'appelle maintenant
called now,
dernier
named
piano,
now,
sort
The Last
2 ans
Piano,
après,
is
car
released
ces
2
films
years
labellisés
later
ont
because
connu
this
des
labeled film
vies et des carrières
had
diverses,
their lives and
au
various
fur et à mesure
careers
des événements que nous avons tous
due
et
to
tous
the
connus
events
ici
we
et à
all
travers le
knew
monde. Donc on s'est
here and
retrouvés
around the
en
world.
2020 sans festival,
So
l'an
we had
dernier
no
à
festival in
l'été.
2020.
Et puis là, nous
Last
sommes
year
dans
in
nos
summer,
dates,
and
dans nos
this year
agendas,
we are right
dans nos
on
patins, dans
time
nos marques, mais
on our
entre
tracks,
deux tours,
but
et le
in between
festival se
the two
déroulera entre
elections.
présidentielle et législative, le
And
cinéma au cœur de la vie
in fact,
mondiale
cinema
et
will
de la
be
vie de la société.
in between the presidential election and the legislative elections. That's how cinema concurs with the life. So,
Et puis, je voudrais simplement
I'd like
remercier
simply thank
et dire notre
and
bonheur,
say
Thierry et moi et
our
toutes les équipes du
happiness,
festival, d'avoir avec nous aujourd'hui
Thierry,
des
myself, and all the
partenaires
teams
qui
of
sont
the
à la
festival
fois
having partners
essentiels
who
sur le
are
plan
essential
éditorial
from
et qui
the
vont
editorial
être
point of view and who
décisifs
will be decisive
dans un nouveau
in
déploiement
a new
du faire savoir, de la
rolling
résonance,
out of the know-how
du voyage,
of
de tout ce
the
que le
travel
festival propose
of
pendant sa
whatever
quinzaine. Je
the
pense
festival
bien
is
sûr à France
offering during this
Télévisions,
fortnight.
tout
I
le
think
groupe.
about France Télévisions, the whole
Je
group.
salue et j'embrasse
I
Delphine
commend
Ernotte,
and I
Christophe
kiss
Tardieu.
Christine Ernotte,
C'est
Tardieu,
toute la chaîne, toutes
all
les chaînes,
the
tout le groupe,
channels, all
tous
the
les grands
group,
rendez-vous culturels,
all the
qu'ils
major
soient peu
meetings,
populaires,
cultural
qu'ils soient
meetings,
éminemment
popular,
cinéphiles, mais toujours avec
very
cette valeur
cinema
ajoutée
loving, with
éditoriale qui
this
fait la force
added
de
value
ce
of the
groupe
editorial
à travers toutes ces
that makes
antennes,
the
sa
strength
politique
of
menée
this group
tout au long de ces
and its
dernières
policy all
Avec France Télévisions,
along those
Brut,
past years.
Brut, c'est à la fois
Together
la
with France Télévisions, it's
créativité
Brut,
et
creativity
l'écoute
and
des nouveaux moyens
listening to the new
consommation et
means of
d'échange de toutes les
consumption
jeunes
and of
générations,
sharing
et
of
même
the
la
new
mienne, si je veux
generation,
dire.
even mine,
En
to
France,
tell you the
en
truth,
Europe et
in
à travers
France,
le
in
monde,
Europe
c'est
and
un
all around
déploiement
the world.
phénoménal.
It's a phenomenon.
Et ces
It's
deux
exceptional.
partenaires,
And those
ce
two
grand
partners,
partenariat,
this major partnership,
associé bien sûr,
associated
accompagné avec la radio de service
radio,
public aussi,
public service
ça donne
radio,
un poids
gives
et
a weight
une musique
and
extraordinaire
a
et
extraordinary
mondiale maintenant
music,
pour
global
tout ce
music
que
for
Thierry et ses équipes
whatever
proposent
Thierry
de contenu
and his
qui vont
teams
connaître
present and suggest as content,
cette magnifique
and
résonance.
who will experience this
Évidemment, la
fantastic
présence
echoing.
d'un
The
partenaire
presence
comme
of a
TikTok, avec
partner
qui nous
like
avons
TikTok,
conclu un
with
partenariat,
we
complète cet ensemble
signed
avec
an agreement,
un
a
des
partnership.
moyens qu'il serait complètement fou
It would be crazy
et
to ignore
anachronique
this
de ne
mean
pas
of
agréger à tout ce qui
communication.
nous unit aujourd'hui. Puis il y a des partenaires dont je
And
voudrais dire un
our
mot. Vous savez que
partners,
j'aime
I
bien
would
jouer
like
les
to say a
hommes sandwich,
word
on l'avait presque
about
reproché la première
a
année,
few
je m'adressais
other
à vous. Je
partners.
voudrais saluer BMW
I'd like to
qui va nous
commend
accompagner, c'est un nouveau partenaire. Et sa flotte
BMW, a new
électrique
partner, and its
est à la
electric
fois,
cars
digne du cinéma, mais digne
up
aussi
to
des
the cinema
problèmes de
and
l'air
up
du temps.
to the
Et comme il faut
problems of the
toujours qu'on
time.
pense à Cannes
We always
et
have to
aux
think at
apéritifs
Cannes
en terrasse,
and
où
about
nous
the
pouvons discuter des
aperitif
films,
drinks
il est
in
évident que
terrace.
notre nouveau
Our
partenariat
new
avec
partnership with
fait qu'on va
Campari
pouvoir,
makes
pour
it
ma
so
dernière
that for my
présidence,
last
relancer auprès du maire
presidency,
de Cannes ce que j'avais
be
promis de faire lorsque j'ai été
with the
nommé,
mayor of
la
Cannes, what I
relance
promised
du
to
Blue
do,
Bar. Voilà,
restart
je
the
vous ai
Blue
tout dit.
Bar. I said it all.
Merci encore d'être
Thanks
là.
again for being here with
Thierry,
us. Thierry,
je te passe
you have
à
the
floor.
floor.
Merci Pierre, bonjour à tous.
Thank you, Pierre.
Avant
Thanks,
toute
everybody.
chose, je voudrais vous dire que
I'd like to
c'est,
tell
vous
you,
savez,
it's, as you
la
know,
dernière
the
conférence de
last
presse de Pierre Lescure. Ce
press
sera le
conference
dernier
of
festival de
Pierre
en
Lescure.
tant que
It's going to be the
président.
last
Et je
festival of
voudrais
Pierre as
ici, et j'espère
chairman
avec
of the
vous tous,
festival, and I
tous
hope with
ensemble,
all of you
le saluer.
together. Commend him.
Merci.
Thank you.
C'est bien.
Thank you.
saluer sa présence, son travail, son
thanks his
soutien,
presence, his work, his
et
support,
la façon dont il
and the way
aura eu de
he
perpétuer
has and
ce qui
had
fait
to
la tradition
perpetuate
du
what
festival,
makes
ce
the
qui fait
tradition of the
son
festival,
ouverture
its
vers le
opening to
futur.
the future.
Nous souhaitons
And
la bienvenue, on en
we
reparlera,
will
à
welcome
Iris Knobloch,
Iris de
qui,
Knobloch,
comme vous le savez également,
as you know,
succédera à
will
Pierre,
succeed Pierre
comme présidente
as
du
president of the
de Cannes.
Cannes Film Festival. It's the 75th
on a toujours l'habitude
edition.
de célébrer un peu les
We
anniversaires. On
always
avait fait un beau
commend the
70e
anniversaries. We
anniversaire,
made a
mais
fantastic
évidemment,
70th
célébrer l'anniversaire du
anniversary,
Festival de Cannes,
but to commemorate the
aujourd'hui,
Cannes Festival
après 2 ans de
today,
crise,
after
2
2
ans
years of
qu'on ne se
crisis,
remettra pas en quelques
2 years
semaines,
that
il faudra
we
peut-être
shall not
2 ans pour se
overcome
remettre, de cette
overnight.
crise,
It will take us
et
a
par
few
moments,
years before we
évidemment, de
overcome
tristesse
this,
et
and
de
some
guerre
sadness
en Europe et
and
également un peu partout dans le
pain
monde. Donc,
and
célébrer
war in Europe and
célébrer
elsewhere in the
l'anniversaire du
world. So
festival sera pas
commemorate
forcément célébrer
the anniversary
son
of the
passé,
festival. It's not
bien
to
que ce
commemorate the
passé,
past,
cette double naissance en
although this
1939
past, this
et en
double birth
1946
in
soit pleine de
39 and
symboles et de
46 is full of symbols
qui
and
sont
signals
précieux pour les
that are
analyses
precious for
d'aujourd'hui,
the
mais célébrer
analysis of
également,
today, but it's true
le
also
présent et
the
l'avenir,
present and the
et
future,
s'interroger d'ailleurs
and
sur,
ask
l'avenir
ourselves
du cinéma.
about
Le
the
moment
future of the
anniversaire
cinema.
sera le mardi
The anniversary
24
will be
mai,
Tuesday, May
avec de nombreux
24th,
invités,
with many, many
des
guests,
cinéastes en particulier, bien sûr,
filmmakers,
des
of course,
comédiens, des
artists,
comédiens,
comedians,
et également
and
un
also
colloque, un symposium,
a colloquium, a
qui
symposium
fera que des cinéastes
that will make
pourront
so that
un peu
movie
plancher,
makers will
réfléchir,
come
s'exprimer,
and express themselves, work,
penser à voix haute leur
think
métier. Qu'est-ce que c'est que le
aloud
cinéaste
about their
aujourd'hui?
job.
Alors,
What is it to being
c'était
a
faire un
movie
film en
maker
35
today?
mm pour une salle de
Before
cinéma.
it was a
Aujourd'hui,
35
c'est quoi? Et
mm
puis comment
film
tous ces
for
artistes,
a
ces hommes de-
theater.
femmes de
Today
cinéma,
it's something different.
verront leur métier,
How will these
à
people
l'avenir.
see
Avec les
their
directeurs de
job
festival,
in
on
the
aura aussi
future?
une réflexion,
We will have also
pour
some
réfléchir
a little
sur la
think
place
tank to think
et le
about
rôle
the
du
role
festival,
of
dans
the
le
festivals
cinéma
in the
et dans le
cinema
monde entier.
and
Wim
around the world.
Wenders en
Wim
1982,
Wenders in
à une époque où
82,
il était déjà
at a time when it
question
was
entre lui,
already
Jean-Luc
a
Godard et
question
quelques
between
autres,
him and Jean-Luc
de
Godard
réfléchir sur,
about
ce
thinking
que
about
devenait,
what
le
cinema was
avait fait un
becoming,
court-métrage qui s'appelait
made a short
Room
movie called Room
666. Il s'était installé dans une chambre d'hôtel et
666.
avait
He was in a hotel room and interviewed
des cinéastes et
movie
Godard,
makers,
Fassbinder,
Spielberg, Antonioni,
et
Yilmaz Güney,
la question était simple,
and the
c'était le
question was
cinéma
simple.
est-il un langage
Is
en train
cinema
de se
a
perdre,
language that is
un art
being
qui va
lost
mourir?
or an art on the
82,
verge of
c'est la
dying?
question
And
qui se
in
pose.
82, those
Et,
were the
le
questions.
cinéma n'est pas mort,
And
le langage n'est pas mort.
Cinema isn't
Tout s'est
dead,
renouvelé,
language
tout se
isn't dead,
renouvelle
everything is
toujours.
renewed,
Je
everything
crois
is
que la
always
sélection qu'on va
renewed.
vous présenter
The selection
va
will
les
present to
prouver
you,
à nouveau, néanmoins, il est
will
bon
prove it
de se
again,
poser
but it
ces
is
questions-là.
good to
Une
ask
jeune
those questions again.
réalisatrice, Lubna
A young
Plius,
movie maker,
a
Nona Plius,
décidé de venir,
decided to
aidée
come,
par,
supported
l'armada
by
MK2, pour
MK2,
poser à nouveau
to
ces
ask
questions-là,
again those
qui ont une
questions
valeur en soi et qui auront
that have a
également
value in
valeur de
itself and
comparaison pour
also a
savoir,
value of
ce qui
comparison
s'est passé
to
en
know what
40
happened
années,
40
puisque
years
c'était
ago,
pile il y a 40
because
ans,
it was
tout
exactly
ça,
40
sous
years
les
ago, all
auspices de
this,
Wim Wenders, qui
under
a
the
tout à
aegis
fait,
of Wim
et
Wenders,
gentiment accepté
who
que,
accepted
la question qu'il
the
posait
question
soit
that he
à
was
nouveau,
asked be
posée.
asked again.
La sélection que
The
nous allons
selection
vous
that we
proposer
shall
est
present
issue
today
d'une
stems
vision
from
de
a
plus de 2000
vision of
2200.
over
L'an dernier, il y avait
2,200
déjà un
films.
chiffre de cette nature,
We had a
parce que
figure
c'était
of that
presque 2
size
ans,
because it was
à
almost
diffuser.
2 years
Mais on était à
of
moins de 2000 films
addition,
ces dernières
but
années.
we're below
Maintenant, ça y est,
2,000 films.
on
Now,
les
that's
dépasse
it,
largement.
we're
Je vous rappelle
above
que quiconque a fait un
2,000
long métrage,
films.
donc un film de plus d'une heure,
Whoever made a film of over 1
peut
hour
envoyer et
can
inscrire son
send
film à la sélection du
and
Festival de
submit
Cannes.
his
Il
film
sera
to the
vu,
selection of the film
pas forcément
festival.
retenu, mais il sera
It will
vu,
be
et tous ces
seen,
films-là
screened,
ont été vus.
maybe
Enfin,
not
pas tous,
retained,
tous, puisque
not
premièrement,
all of them,
le
because
numérique
the
fait que,
digital makes
on
it
peut
that
maintenant,
we can
contrairement à avant,
now,
où il fallait donner
conversely
dès
to
le
what
15
happened
janvier, les réponses pour que les gens aient
previously,
le temps de terminer leur
give the
film.
answers so
Aujourd'hui, le
people
numérique
could
permet,
finish their
d'être
film,
beaucoup
finalize the
plus,
film. Now the
sur
digital
l'ouvrage en train de se
enabled
faire.
people
Et puis
to
beaucoup de films sont arrivés très,
be
très
really
en retard.
in the
Donc, quand je
pipes,
dis qu'on a
and
vu tous
many,
les
many
films,
films
c'est
came
pas vrai.
in late.
On les a pas
When I say
tous
we've
vus,
seen them
donc,
all, no, we
on
didn't
va
see
vous
them
annoncer une
all.
sélection quasi complète.
We will show you
Comme
an
vous savez,
almost
nous aimons
complete,
bien, avec
almost
Christian Bell,
finalized selection. But
Stéphanie Lamond et toute l'équipe des sélectionneurs
Stéphanie
ont bien
Lamond and all the
fignolé
team
ce
of
que nous ferons
people making the selections will fine-tune next week the final selection. Selection was difficult to establish, not only for those reasons of timing, because the global cinema has to really reset itself. Usually you have 40,000 people accredited to the film festival. We were over 20,000 last year and in July, and we should be 35,000 people accredited, almost a return to the normality. As you know, Asia isn't back to travel, with some parts of the world who are not traveling yet. So we are glad to see that we will have 35,000 people accredited in Cannes, dear friends of the media. So I'll start to talk about the selection. I'd like to thank our friends of UGC, Nathalie Brignot, who's in charge of this beautiful theater, because it enables us to meet at the room and in the theater of the Normandie, which is a cult theater for us. I talked about Brut, I talked about Renault. It's the past and the future, like the 75th edition. Last thing before moving to the selection, the composition of the jury, of the juries, will be announced in the days to come. We usually do this before the selection. It is topping the announcement of the selection, but it's not only strategy, it's also because it's not finalized. It's interesting. All the artists are at work, working all the time for the cinema. But as I said, this will be part and parcel of a discussion for the cinema and other kinds of format too. It's very impressive to see how far, luckily enough, the industry of the picture, the industry of the cinematic language is on track again. And you will discover the poster in the days to come. We'll start with a special section and will culminate with the competition. And there are things that I shouldn't announce.
Oui, mais parce qu'on est aussi, on a terminé évidemment tard hier soir.
We finished late. I talked about the selection. I should do better. I should thank the selection team, all of those who help and support us to see all those movies, to select them. Through their knowledge, their passion, come to enrich the discussion, the debate, the conversation, and establish the selection. Thank again also all the producers, the distributors, the sellers of film, who are really rushing to come to Cannes. And nothing shows that they are tired of it, all those enabling that films get to us. And thank also all of the artists who made those films. And a thought for those that I will not announce the films, because for most of them, not all, again, there will be some additions at a later stage, since most of them cannot be part of this selection of 50-some movies. Last year, it was 80. Last year, the selection was, as I said, not only generous, because there were a total of 2 years, but also the mirror of a generosity that we wanted to establish, because it was already a kind of end of the crisis. It was said last year it was the first festival post-crisis. We shall not say it for this year, while we hope it dearly. And I will announce 47 films, plus the additions of next week. Shonak Sen is an Indian festival, All That Breathes. And this film alludes to the bad things we are breathing. If we didn't do a selection climate, movie makers all around the world are asking this question all around the world about the climate change and the problems of the environment. Sergei Lozhnitsa is a Ukrainian movie maker. He came in competition. He came last year with a film, historic movie. It's the follow-up, History of Destruction. He was saying that we put in the natural present of the destruction, and Sergei Loznitsa, that we will be happy to meet this year. Ethan Cohen, one of the Coen brothers, grabbed the camera, the editing room, and made a documentary film on the Jerry Lee Lewis, Trouble in Mind. And it's his first movie signed on his own. And the film will be presented in a special screening. Midnight, the great tradition of the midnight Korean movie. This one is named Hunt, and it's an actor who is the director, Lee Jung-jae, Sweet Games, who made this first feature, a detective political movie. Brett Morgan is American, who made an editing movie called Moon Age Daydream, as the name doesn't say it, because its name is about Bowie, David Bowie, saying how far David Bowie was of interest to cinema. He made clips very inspired by the history of the cinema, by the first era of the cinema, of silent movie. This film on the widescreen of the Grand Palais will be welcome. Some years before his death, he said he would have wanted to be a member of the jury of the Cannes Festival, and we shared on that. And, well, he decided not to do it. We understood later that he wouldn't be able to do it, and I'm glad to say a few words about this fantastic personality. Quentin Dupieux, movie Fumer fait tousser, Smoking Makes You Cough. He makes inspired movies, and sometimes crazy, and this is Quentin Dupieux multiplied by 100 with a French comedian who are absolutely happy to film, to be in this movie of 80-minute movie, Fumer fait tousser, which is a lot of freedom in his filming, in his content, in his script, and as I said, actors who are really having fun. Out of the competition, i.e. the films who are presented in the major theatre, we announced already Top Gun Maverick, the second Top Gun, in presence of Tom Cruise. It's going to be the day after the opening, and there'll be a homage paid to Tom Cruise. I say it just like that. And in the history of the cinema, American cinema, he is probably one of the producers, comedian, one of those artists who are committing themselves for the cinema, for the theaters, movie theaters, who has the ratio of project, consistency, quality, one of the highest ratio in the order of what he's doing, and we'll be glad to commend also the artist and the quality of his commitment in the cinema. Other movie who was already announced, it's Baz Luhrmann, screened on the 25th of May. He didn't want to come back a third time. I see the guys from Warner over here. He didn't want to come and make the opening after Moulin Rouge 20 years ago. And Gatsby. This film is Elvis, not only Elvis Presley, but of the Coleman Parkers, played by Tom Hanks. And we're very glad to welcome this movie, which is Baz Luhrmann is really something which we know very well, and the loyalty of Warner and the loyalty of Paramount, who comes back after Elton John, after the film with Elton John, in the major theatre of the festival. Cédric Jiménez presented Backdoor out of the competition. He comes back with a movie called November, which is really in the news because it's about the perpetrators of the terrorist actions. And Jean Dujardin, Anaïs de Mustier, Lina Coudry, Sandrine Kiberlin, and others, the French police investigating after the terrorist attacks. George Miller, Mad Max Fury Road, out of the competition, another Warner movie some years ago, was also a member of the jury, chairing the jury, comes back with a movie called 3,000 Years of Longing. 3,000 Years of Longing. It's an amazing movie, very amazing coming from him, some thinking with a reflection about the history of the world, how it started, how it will probably end, maybe, how we live surrounded by things we believe or we do not believe in. He really went very far in some thinking that usually philosophers and writers do, but he did it as a movie maker. And Nicolas Bedos will come to present his detective Nice comedy called Masquerade. It's a detective story, okay, comedy, not bad as a definition. And we're glad to welcome for the third time Nicolas Bedos. Cannes Première. It's a section, it's a position where we decided to take a first movie. It's the outer competition is very eventful. There was missing one room to show also movies that we wanted to show also the work of movie makers who sometimes come in competition and sometimes because of format and other points, or a writer who writes a major novel for the Pulitzer and the Goncourt, and next year he will come up with an essay, more humble, that will be placed elsewhere in the bookshop. This is what we wanted to do with Cannes Première. Last year with André Arnold, Oliver Stone, Mathieu Malric, Aung San Suu, Gaspard Noé, all the series of films that we were glad to show in this beautiful theatre called the Debussy Theatre. This year, at Cannes Première, we have the film of Rachid Bouchareb, our brothers, nos frangins. He was already at the film festival for his film Indigène, Nos Frangins in French. He says that it's third part of what he looks like a trilogy of a history. It's a kind of history of France. It's the history of the death of Malik Ousekine in the 80s, 1986 exactly. Marco Bellocchio had a honor palm with his documentary on his brother. This time it's a television movie called Esterno Notte. Outside Night. It's the story of Aldo Moro by the Red Brigades and the abandonment of Aldo Moro by the Russians, the Americans and his friends of the Christian democracy, and his assassination by the Brigade Rouge, the Red Brigades, who didn't know what to do with this hostage anymore. It's really touching and really moving to see Marco Bellocchio, almost 80, going on working, delivering a work of such a size, large size, and asking himself about the history of his country after Mussolini, the mafia, and a series of things. He is, again, showing a movie on which he is asking himself, questioning himself about his own youth and the way he experienced the history of Aldo Moro and the way he intends to talk about it today. And Panos Koutras, Greek movie maker, with his film Dodo. It could be in competition, but it is at Cannes Première. It's a way. We were talking about a crazy movie for Quentin Durieux. Well, for those who remember the work of Panos, it's the same line, okay, with this dodo coming into the Greek society, wreaking havoc. And Olivier Assayas will come to show some episodes of a series Irma Vep. It's not a remake of its Irma Vep. It's a movie linked to his Irma Vep and his Vampires of Feuillade. It's a story of a shooting of a film, and it's telling the story of a director arguing with comedians, artists. Absolutely great artists. We are used to show series. We did it with David Lynch. The first 2 episodes of Twin Peaks 2, we did it with Top of a Lake and Jane Campion. We did it with Carlos. And the film of Olivier Assayas, it's giving news, latest news about movie makers like Assayas, who are linked to the Festival of Cannes and tell about the observation I made previously. Movie makers do not always make movies for theaters in 2 or 3 years. Movie makers came back to show us something different, and now the gap is wider, and it's 4, 5, 6 years sometimes for welcoming again a movie maker with a movie for the theatrical audience. We'll add some more. Those 15 movies of a certain gaze, un certain regard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, who are first movies, and out of those 15, 8 female directors who signed them, more or less. 2 French, Lise Acoca and Romane Guéret, in a movie called Les Pires, the worst. Les Pires. It's a film about the history of a shooting within a casting with lots of very young people, teenagers, who in the region of France. It's Emin Alper presents a movie, Cura Gunler, in the rooms, in the audience Debussy, in the theater Debussy. Alexander Belts, it's a film called Métronome, included in A Certain Regard, Certain Gaze. So in the parallel with Cannes Première, it's really it's focusing more of his call, young cinema, experimental movie, author movie. We know what we will see when we go and see a movie of a certain gaze. And when a film is renewed, when it's signed by a veteran movie maker, if it's a new gaze. I hope now everything is clear for you, the way we select those movies. And conversely, so we go to see the first films. Davy Shu is a Cambodian filmmaker, but he made his film in Korea. Back to Seoul. Back to Seoul is the name of the film. The Norwegian Christopher Borgli made a movie called Sick of Myself. It's almost a comedy. You can laugh. I mean, and we have Ariel Escalante Meza. Chie Hayakawa is a Japanese filmmaker, Plan 75, first movie. The film of Ariel Escalante Meza is called Domingo y la Niebla. The film of Christopher Borgli is Sick of Myself. And you know that there is a competition of the school movies, the workshop, and the residence in Paris, all those activities were rehashed. The young cinema with the competition of the short movies that will be unveiled soon, with the short film corner, with the operation 3 Days in Cannes, who is really fantastic. Will be between 3,000 and 5,000 young people who will come each and every time to spend 3 days in Cannes. We have 3 days in Cannes at the beginning, 3 days in Cannes at the end. At the beginning also because we know that they will not leave, they will stay there, and they try to see as many movies as possible. And it's a new audience, a vital audience for the world of the festivals. And workshop residence and the competition of the school movies. If Ciné Foundation, we shall keep the name Cinef. La Cinef, it's the competition of the students studying cinema from all over the world and from France. Because Cinéfabrique and Fémis were widely represented. 2 American filmmakers called Beast in a reservation, Riley Keough and Gina Gamble, 2 filmmakers. It's the Pine Ridge Project. For the anecdote, Riley Keough is the granddaughter of the king of Presley. Mary Kreutzer is an Austrian filmmaker called Corsage. It's talking about Sissi, the empress, but the later Sissi. Let's ask ourselves the question after they were at the center of the world. Many movies talked about it, and this film is questioning the solitude of the queens. Maxim Nakonieczny, first movie from the Ukraine. Maxim Nakonieczny. Bashenia Metelika. So you'll hear some words in Ukrainian. Bashenia Metelika. It's filmed a few months ago, returned to the country, in protected country of a young woman working as a teacher who engaged herself in the war, being abducted and coming back to her country on a prisoner exchange. It's alluding to the Donbass area. We might think it was filmed 2 months ago, but it's not the case. It's a very important movie, and besides its qualities and the young actress who is really embodying this movie. Linur Palmason, called Raskaptaland, Voladaland. The first movie is of Lola Kivoron, called Rodeo. It's the passion of some young people for motorbikes. It's not rodeos of delinquents, but it's also it's also some sport, right? It's the first movie by Lola Kivoron. Saim Sadek, first movie. It's the first time that Pakistan reaches official selection with a movie called Joyland. It's the history of a man who was in theater and who becomes friend. No, I will not say anything else. No. Thomas Wright, Australian movie maker, called The Stranger. Thomas Wright. Agnieszka Smoczynska, in the movie The Silent Twins, Polish filmmaker Agnieszka Smoczynska, The Silent Twins, produced by Focus. Silent Twins. It's the 15th movie that I give you the list for a certain gaze, a certain regard, but we will add there 1, 2, or 3 movies next week. I'm getting now to the competition, and it's 18 movies composing for today this competition. I see I noted 155 different countries submitted films, not far away from the UN, right? Ali Abbasi is a Swedish-Iranian movie maker. You remember Border, at un certain regard. He is the director of Border for his second movie now. It's a young, still a young movie maker in competition. The movie is called Holy Spider, The Knights of Machade. And he is in competition for France. Valeria Bruni-Tedeschi, Les Amandiers, the almond tree, Les Amandiers. Valerie goes back to her youth and the personality of Patrice Chéreau, the director of the theatre Les Amandiers. What is it a call? What is it the capacity for comedians to endure pain, problems, to reach their dream, be a comedian, to be working in the theatre? And Valeria successfully made this movie to show what was the commitment of a youth under stress due to the SIDA. David Cronenberg is coming back with his movie Crimes of the Future. I didn't say all the red carpets that we will have. They will be fantastic. This one especially. Viggo Mortensen, Lea Seydoux, Kristen Stewart, and the personality of David Cronenberg, who is coming back to some of his obsession. We're very glad to welcome him and his Canadian producer. 4 Golden Palms, Palme d'Or. The first of it is the one of Jean-Pierre and Luc Dardenne. They had 2, each one of them. And this new movie is called Tori and Lokita. Second French in competition, another filmmaker, female filmmaker, that we're glad to welcome. His first movie was welcomed in competition, but you know how to correct. It was Chocolate. And now this movie is called Stars at Noon by Claire Denis, that we're very glad to welcome for a movie. It's going to be released. She showed in Berlin a very French movie with Juliette Binoche and Vincent Lindon. This one is the opposite. She went to South America, Costa Rica, Panama, Guatemala to do a film of expectation on the verge of a diplomatic detective. So, Stars at Noon. Third one in competition, Arnaud Desplechin, Frères et Sœurs, brother and sister. He was at Cannes Première, Desplechin, last year. He's coming back in this Conte de Noël and this family novel that he decided to make part of his work. Lucas Dont, a young Belgian movie maker, and who went through the official selection. It's the author of Girl, who won the Golden Camera. His new movie is called Close, and he's in competition. Other return to competition, James Gray, Armageddon Time. James Gray, Armageddon Time, welcoming the one who came always in competition with beautiful works and a member of a jury, chaired by Isabelle Huppert. It's a chronicle of youth, of teenage, with Anthony Hopkins, and he decided to look into his own history, or the history of someone looking like him in New York in the 80s, 90s. Second Golden Palm to come back. It's been a long time we haven't seen him since it's Golden Palm, a family affair. It's Koreeda Hirokazu, with a movie made in Korea. Korea is very attractive to movies, with a film called Broker. Koreeda Hirokazu, Broker, a road movie of adoption. And we find there again one of the greatest Korean comedian, member of the jury, Song Kong-go, who is playing in this movie that Hirokazu Koreeda did in Korea. Mario Martone, Italian. We finished late yesterday, I didn't check, but I think it's the first time he's in competition with a movie called Nostalgia. Mario Martone, I don't know if it's a school of Berlin, but he's from Napoli. Major Italian, Matteo Garrone, Paolo Sorrentino, Valeria Colentino, actors, producers come from Naples, a major cinema city. He made a film like Sorrentino with his last movie. He made something out of it. Naples, Nostalgia. Pierre Francesco, who played in The Traitor of Bellocchio. Savino, yeah, Savino. Was Savino. Extraordinary actor. Christian Mungiu, who was also a Palme d'Or, Golden Palm, comes back in competition with a movie called RMN, on the borders of Romania, through the life of a village, alluding to things which are also at the heart of the news. What is Europe? What are the impact of the European politics within this part of the world, which is in the spotlight, but enabling Mungiu to question the destiny of his country and of the communities, Gypsies, Romanians, Hungarians. All this is made in a very strong way. The film is called RMN. Ruben Östlund, he had the Golden Palm with his movie The Square, and his new movie called Triangle of Sadness. Ruben Östlund. It's a comedy. Political, global, economical. Well, okay, it's really making fun of what we are, with what we became. Ruben Östlund, we know his capacity to laugh at our bad manners. Park Chan-wook. Park Chan-wook, he missed the Golden Palm with Old Boy. His new film is called Decision to Leave. After Mademoiselle, with his new film in competition, Hayo Jill Gail Sim. Now, Kelly Reichardt with Showing Up, with a lot of, can we call it a small film? No, it's a way of saying that she is inventing the cinema of the degrowth. She's interested by many, many topics, interested by the way of showing another America. And this movie, even by its size, by its format, which is also a kind of chronicle, the format of the film says, well, that what is her project? She will be having an homage paid at the Locarno Festival. Kelly Reichardt showing up. Saeed Rustai. If you know this name, Saeed Rustai, the name of Tehran, it will ring a bell. He's the author of the Law of Tehran. His new movie is called Leila's Brothers, and he's in competition. Other movie maker, cinematographer coming. There will be films that we have not announced yet at a certain gaze, because there are many, many very good films coming from the Maghreb, North Africa, Arab countries, with a female filmmaker, female cinematographer who are really in the engagement in the cinema. And Boy from Heaven, that's the name of the movie, Tariq Saleh. Detective, religious movie, something that is saying or showing what in today's Egypt, what are the conversation and the theological debates. And for this scripts, discussion and rivalries. And we are really getting into a society that we know nothing of here in France. And for almost the one before the last, a film by Kirill Serebrennikov, Žena Tchaikovskого. Žena Tchaikovskого, Kirill Serebrennikov. As you know, he left Russia. He came to Paris. He's living now in Berlin. He will do the opening of the Festival of Avignon. I'd like to commend our friend Olivier P. for his last year at Avignon the Avignon Festival. Serebrennikov left Russia. I don't know if he wants to, or if he wishes to go back, and we're happy to welcome him for a film historical movie around the personality of Tchaikovsky and his wife. And at the end, and not at the end, last but not least, it's Jerzy Skolimowski's movie. Over 80, and Jerzy, I didn't say we didn't expect him at such a level because he's a major, fantastic movie maker, but we just didn't expect him to work. He has a work as a painter, for some extraordinary work as a painter. After his Californian life, he went back to live in Poland, and he made a movie called A.O. Hihan. It's the story of a donkey. The story of a donkey, yes. A.O. may be Ian in French. A.O. maybe, okay, we'll figure out. We'll investigate on the title of this movie in the weeks to come. Film of Jerzy Skolimowski. It was interesting to show first movies and to have also people like Skolimowski. Those are cinematographers who are making movies, extraordinary, original movie, using cinema. Again, we have to say it. I alluded to several times, and in the years to come, the issue of what is a movie, what is to make a movie today. What we may say that cinema, and we felt it very strongly with this last movies that came to us, cinema remains the idea of an artist, of a movie maker, of a cinematographer who comes and finds the way through a support, through a team, a producer, a lot of female producers also in this selection, to embody this idea in a cinema and as a work meant to meet an audience in theaters, even if today there are many, many other ways to show so that the destiny of films will not stop only at the theaters. Skolimowski is a proof of it. So far for the official selection of this year, that will not be complete if we wouldn't give you the film of the grand opening. It's called Z, like Z, out of the competition by Michel Hazanavicius, out of the competition, who was really a milestone for the extraordinary success of the artist silent movie, making this movie, The Search, filmed in Chechnya, showing the atrocities of the Russian army during the war in Chechnya. It's a film that should be seen again. It's worth it because it shows also that cinema, through fiction sometimes, can also point at realities. This is totally different. It's a comedy, like zombie film. So 2019 was Jim Jarmusch's movie, and 2022 it's going to be the opening, the film of Michel Hazanavicius, the story of a filming of a zombie movie, talking about the passion for the cinema and saying what is the collective in the cinema, and you can succeed in doing things only together. And not bad to conclude and to thank you all of you, and all who came to show their movies so far for the selection 2022. Thank you. Thank you, dear friends. Thanks to all of you. There will be some interviews that will be done and some pictures. Thanks to all. I think the scope is wide. The red carpets will be sumptuous. Thank you so much.